Patriots in the Super Bowl. I'm with you on the Patriot game.
Right.
I'm not with you on the NFC game. I think the Rams are your Super Bowl champions, and Matthew Stafford gets into the Hall of Fame. Have a great weekend.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Arvel Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a Joe Bowman show.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
You even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on
What's up, guys? Happy Friday. Welcome into Game Time Decisions. Matt Perrault in for Kevin tonight, and we are loaded. It is a weekend where if you are somebody who just is a sports fan, we got everything for you tonight. We're going to cover it all. We got even golf covered tonight. We've got MMA with UFC 324 happening in Las Vegas, here where I am tomorrow night. And we have two championship games, the AFC and the NFC championship games, and that's where we're going to begin today. Because, well, as a Patriot fan, this is one of those days where everyone hates me and everyone hates Patriot fans because everybody is so sick to death of having to hear about the Patriots. I got to be honest. When I saw this number, 16 championship game appearances for the Patriots, this is the 16th one of these for New England. It is a little bit ridiculous when you stop and think about that. I'm 48 years old. So to give you an idea, a third of my life has been spent in years watching this team play in this round of the postseason with a second-year quarterback and a first-year head coach heading to Denver with a number that, frankly, is rather shocking. This number does not get covered in the NFL in the playoffs, just historically speaking. A number of 4 or higher hasn't been covered ever on the road in the playoffs over the last 50 years. We have not seen this number be covered, and it's 5 or 5.5. I just really cannot get my brain around the idea of the Patriots going to Denver and winning this thing by that many points. And I'm a Patriot fan. If I'm a Bronco fan, I'm thinking the only way we get blown out, and it happened against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they did get blown out, and that was with Bo Nix. They lost by 14 points at home to the Jags. We have to have a quarterback in Jarrett Stidham who plays like C.J. Stroud did last week for the Houston Texans. That he has to be the reason why the Broncos lose if this thing gets away. More likely than not, this is a tight football game, and we're going to find out a lot about Drake May and about his ability to handle the pressure. Tom Brady never won in Denver. In fact, in my life, I've never seen it. 0-4. That's what the Patriots are in the playoffs against the Broncos in Denver. Tom Brady lost 2 AFC championship games, and now he has his heir apparent in Drake May trying to do what the GOAT couldn't do, which is win at Denver. Look, the Patriots are going to have to play a near perfect game in my mind, and they can't turn the football over. And if Drake May's offensive line cannot block and protect this defensive line, big time problems. It's Jared Stidham's first start in forever. So am I running to the window to bet the Patriots? No. Am I taking the points? Yes. Do I think the Patriots win? I do. But Jared Stidham being a 4th-round pick out of Auburn, who was thought to be the heir apparent or one of the options for the Patriots when they drafted him, he came here to Vegas, played for the Raiders for a cup of coffee. It was a forever ago time that he played. But Sean Payton gave him 2 contracts. He may know something a little more about football than I do. So I'll give Sean Payton the credit to say, okay, he thinks this kid's good to go. And they didn't play possum with Jared Stidham. When the injury happened, right to the podium. Jared Stidham's the quarterback. We're good to go. Sean Payton is confident that this kid can play and this kid can actually hurt the Patriots with his arm because they're not going to be able to run on the Patriots defense. One more start, and then we'll get to the NFC or stat. The Patriots, when they are healthy, Milton Williams, Robert Spillane, and Christian Gonzalez, when they have all 3 players on the field at the same time, the Patriots are 16-0 on the year. They're 16-3 overall. So they haven't lost yet. When they have those 3 guys playing together, they haven't lost yet. I don't think they lose on Sunday, but I do think that number is too heavy at 5 or 5.5. I think Denver's the right side. On the other side, in the next game of the NFC Championship, when the Seattle Seahawks welcome in their now arch rival in the LA Rams, I think it's the opposite. I'm actually surprised that this number hasn't gone to 3 yet. This should be a win for Seattle, given the number of things the Rams have to overcome to win this football game. The Rams are on the road for 3 consecutive weeks in the postseason. For the most part, that's a kiss of death. Teams are only winning at about a 24% clip when they're playing 3 consecutive road games. That's really difficult. Then coming off of an overtime game the week prior, teams are 0-5 in the postseason the week after they've played a game in the postseason since 2003. So you're asking a Ram team to play extra football, to go on the road and have all of these situations roll around, and they're going to play a team they've played twice. They beat them in LA. They got beat in LA, and they beat them by 1 at home. 2 very different football games, but I have a hard time seeing the Rams against this defense going to Seattle with the 12th man and winning that game. I'm more comfortable and confident saying Seattle wins, and I have a 14-1 ticket on Seattle to win the Super Bowl. I really could hedge against the Rams, and I probably will take a Rams position at some point, but I like Seattle to win the game. I like Seattle to cover. I don't think it's going to be nearly as high scoring as I've seen people. The sharp money has taken the under down to 46.5 in this game, and I think that's probably the right side. But because the second game was an absolute shootout going back and forth, there is some concern about the total between these 2 teams. But Matthew Stafford having a chance to get to the Super Bowl with Sean McVay, if it's Patriots Rams, sign me up. I mean, I'm going to San Francisco. I mean, let's go. let's lock it down and let's have a rematch. The Seattle New England matchup is really interesting. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. See how that plays out. But Denver against Seattle, yeah, it's a rematch. I know we've seen it before, but that game just doesn't carry a whole lot of weight to me. I don't think the television networks are jumping up and down to spend 2 weeks talking about Jared Stidham and the Broncos against the Seahawks and Sam Darnold and Mike McDonald. So I'll be very curious to see how this thing plays out. I think it's Patriots Seahawks, but it very well could be Patriots Rams as well. You get the number 2 media market with Los Angeles. Tomorrow night here in Las Vegas, UFC 324, 2 monster fights. The co-main event after we lost the Harrison Nunes fight due to the neck surgery for Kayla Harrison. Some of the shine has been taken off of this card a little bit, but we do have 2 very good fights. And the Sean O'Malley and Song Yadong fight is getting a lot of attention for a variety of reasons. Sean O'Malley has basically talked about the fact that the Sugar Show, if he doesn't win that fight, that might be it for him in terms of being a dominant bantamweight, and he may have to go and just fight a couple of more fights, and then he could be done. So he has a big, big task. I don't think he's going to want to engage in that fight. I think Sean O'Malley is going to win that fight by decision. I'm not interested in laying $2 on O'Malley, but I do think there's some value on him by decision. It's expensive as heck to bet the over 2.5 rounds on that fight. So most of Song Yadong's fights don't end inside the distance. They go to the cards. And I think O'Malley is going to stay away from the punching power. So that fight, I think, goes to an O'Malley decision. The main event with Justin Gaethje, oh my, this is all Paddy at the moment. Paddy Pimblett has had a ton of attention all week long, but the Sharps are taking a shot on Justin Gaethje to catch the kid and derail Paddy Pimblett. I'm a little surprised by it. I thought we'd see professional money come in on Paddy by submission, Paddy to finish the fight under 2.5 rounds. The opposite has happened, at least here in Vegas. The opposite has happened with the Sharps. They think Gaethje's live, and they like the over in this fight as well. Gaethje by decision, Gaethje by knockout. There's a lot of people who believe that this fight will be the dog, the veteran, taking it down for the interim lightweight title tomorrow night here in Las Vegas for UFC 324. Hoops tonight. Let's talk some NBA. I haven't talked to our guest on the other side in a while. JY's coming in. Let's get to the NBA. What's going on with that Denver Nuggets total? Went from 223 down to 214.5. We'll get into that and more coming up next as we continue with Game Time Decisions.
What is going on with this Ja Morant saga, right? Ja's on the block. Ja wants to be traded. But now Ja comes back and he denies all trade talks and Ja says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. I said, well, why? Wait a second here. He's the head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there.
Yeah.
To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions. Matt Perrault in for Kevin. We're going to talk some NBA. I haven't talked to this guy in a long time. JY, coach, coming in. The association tonight, there's some line moves, coach, that I don't get. I need your help with a couple of them because I went last night and I bet the Denver game under 221.5. It opened 223. This number's down to 214.5. What the heck is going on with this game for the Nuggets against Milwaukee?
Well, it's free falling like Tom Petty. I mean, you take your pick of Brown is out, Johnson's out, Joker's out, Murray's questionable, Valanciunas, he doesn't care. We don't care. Watson's been getting about 20 points a game. He may be out. Antetokounmpo, the other one, but we don't care about him. He's out. Kevin Porter Jr. out. Torian Prince is out. Miles Turner's in. Probably won't get the rebounding props anyway. And for a team, let's be honest, man. What are we going to do with Milwaukee? Like, it's one of these things where they kept pushing their cards to the middle of the table, right? They went all in when they made the trade and they won the championship. Then they went all in when they got Damian Lillard. Then they went all in with Miles Turner. They need to be all out. Every month that they wait, they're going to lose leverage. And I'm going to say, I'll be the bad guy. I will be Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Giannis, ask out. It's not doing you any favors staying there. It's not doing the team any favors. The longer you go, the less leverage that Milwaukee will have. If you want to say you go to the Knicks, go to the Knicks. I don't care. But for Milwaukee's sake, two things. Trade Giannis, fire Doc Rivers, start over, the end.
What would Giannis bring back? Like, what's a package that you think, who has enough to offer Milwaukee what they need to offer to get Giannis?
Well, it's interesting, Matt, because when you started to see that slide by Oklahoma City, that was the one Noel's like, well, Presti's got more capital than anybody with picks, young players that can restart a franchise, but they've kind of recalibrated and started getting going. So they're gone. San Antonio is another interesting team, but they're playing well too. Do you want to break up the core? And so they may be out. Everybody's saying New York because that's what Giannis wants. And don't sell me on that it's the only place in America where you get direct flight to Athens. You don't think Giannis' family's flying coach on United or Delta? I mean, come on now. That's certainly because of media market. But I'll be honest with you, and I'm a Knicks fan. If I'm Milwaukee, I'm not taking Cat. I got to find a way to reroute him somewhere else. So that's why you're seeing the Knicks be patient, see if something comes. But there could be other suitors that the Knicks may be looking at for Karl-Anthony Towns because they have, I don't care, they beat the Nets by 60. They have deficiencies on the defensive side of the ball that need to be addressed. And Cat can be the one that can bring other players in that can play better defense.
Game of the night tonight, Coach, is Houston on the road against Detroit. This number opened at 3.5. We're at 4 or 4.5, depending on the book here, for the Rockets on the road, who have been, look, I was on the Spurs in that game, and I couldn't believe I lost that. They somehow won and covered. The Rockets did against San Antonio, but we have a Pistons team that leads the East and a team that just beat Boston. It was only by 1, but they beat the Celtics, and they're now 3-1 against Boston this year. What do you make of this game tonight? You like the Pistons to cover at home or the Rockets on the road?
You know, listen, they played in, I think, October, and I think the Pistons were on the road and won by 4. And when you look at Houston, they had not been playing well, but they're kind of starting to find themselves again. The key matchup, it's not Cade Cunningham, it's not the Thompsons, it's not Durant. It is in the pivot. It's Şengün and Durant. That is the matchup you watch for. Let's be honest, man, maybe 2 of the best young centers in the league, not named Wembanyama. I'm going to take a chance here, and I'm going to take the points with Houston with the fact that it's now moved to like 4.5. So now you're looking at 2-possession game. I think they keep it close. I'm going to take the points with the Rockets tonight.
Yeah, I like that too. And the Rockets are going to be a team, I think, in the Western Conference that are going to be a lot of fun to watch in the postseason. And obviously one of the odds-on favorites now, top 4 here to win not just the West, but the championship as well. I mean, obviously it's OKC and everybody else, but the Rockets are definitely near the top of the list. What do you make of the Boston Celtics and what Jaylen Brown has done? You and I haven't talked a while, so I'm curious. All the hype about the Knicks. This is supposed to be the best year ever for the New York Knicks, and yet they got to deal with the Celtics without Tatum. And, well, the number one offense, efficiency-wise, in the NBA is being run by the Boston Celtics and by Jaylen Brown. What does Boston look like when Tatum comes back in your mind?
Extremely dangerous if Tatum realizes he doesn't have to be the guy and he could trade Batman and Robin with Jaylen Brown. But other guys have played really well. Sam Hauser's shooting the snot out of the ball. I like the addition of now putting Peyton Pritchard into the starting lineup. I actually like Peyton Pritchard tonight really quick. Over 6.5 assists, over 4 of the last 6 games, 8+ in the 4 times he's went over.
Wow.
Nets bottom 10 of rebounds. Assists per game to point guards. 69% hit rate by point guards in the last 10 games. Peyton Pritchard over 6.5 assists, and you're going to find it around even to maybe plus money.
Interesting. You like him in the starting lineup. He's the reigning 6th man of the year, though. Wouldn't it work to put him back on the bench when Tatum comes back?
I mean, listen, I think because of his floor spacing ability, I think that's the one thing that makes it really interesting, because with him, with White, like, think about this. And I know, the center position, we'll talk about that in a second. You got to space the floor with shooters, because when driving lanes happen for Tatum or for Brown, you can't get off of Hauser. You can't get off Pritchard. And Pritchard now being good at catching the ball, punching the gap, and then finding someone else on that next pass. So that's why I like it. A guy I want people to think about for a trade, Nick Claxton. I think he would be perfect for the Celtics. Doesn't need the ball to score. Good shot blocker. All-border rebounder. Kate has been doing a good job, but to me, that is an upgrade getting Nick Claxton. That would scare me as a Knick fan, getting Claxton as someone that can clog the paint, block shots, run the floor, lob threat, boards.
Would Miami ever trade Bam to Boston?
The only reason we trade him is if they think they're going to get someone to return. The problem with Miami is, like, they're clinging on to dear life. They keep swinging and missing. They could be on the Giannis thing, but if you trade Giannis, you got to get Bam up. So I don't know. That team is kind of one of those teams that are kind of stuck in the middle right now.
Yeah, Eastern Conference full out of those teams, those mediocre teams. Let's talk college basketball. We got a bunch of games tomorrow to get into, and a big one tonight with Michigan and Ohio State.
What is going on with this Ja Morant saga, right? Ja's on the block. Ja wants to be traded. But now Ja comes back and he denies all trade talk and says Ja says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there.
Yeah.
To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No,
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
that's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Matt Perrault in for Kevin here on Game Time Decisions alongside Coach James Young, breaking down some college now as we got to the NBA in the last segment. Coach, let me ask you a question because I grew up in New England, so I'm a Boston guy. I remember going to the gym when it's a complete blizzard outside and it's a difficult way to get to the gym. Well, there's 10 games that have been canceled or postponed in college basketball tomorrow, and we could have even more of them. Do you handicap that at all? If the gym's going to be empty, how does that impact the way the game might go for these college games?
No, to me, it's all about the travel schedule, about the teams, about how they get out of town. Listen, folks, most Power 5 teams, they're going to be there already. They try to get their practice today, team meal, film, get to bed, get up. I don't think it really matters that much unless a team is really like raucous crowd. I don't really believe in that much. And the weather is going to be kind of a hectic. And we're not talking just the East Coast. We're going all the way down to Texas. Games are going to get moved. Games are going to be canceled. I've been involved in it. It's kind of wild and crazy, but it affects both teams. So not too much into it. It'll be all about the teams that step up and play. You got to be ready to play, whether there's 5,000 people in the gym or during COVID where no one was allowed in the gym.
Ohio State is up against Michigan. In some people's opinions, Michigan's the best team in the country. The number is gigantic. It's 16.5 or 17 here for the Wolverines up against their arch rivals. You laying it, or you taking the points here with the Buckeyes?
Neither. I'm going to take the team total over 89.5 for the Michigan Wolverines. Now, I know they've gone under 4 straight games, but you're looking at a team that's number 5 in adjusted offensive efficiency, according to KenPom. And here's what I look at for teams as a coach. Michigan shoots the ball well. They don't turn it over. Well, Ohio State, decent defensively. They don't force turnovers. Michigan doesn't get their shots blocked. They don't get steals against them. Well, guess what? Ohio State doesn't either. So I don't know if there's going to be enough, in my opinion, defensive pressure put against Michigan. I think this is a good spot at home. I'm worried about the backdoor cover. So I'd rather just say Michigan tries to get their offense going again. I'm going over 89.5 tonight.
Stay in the Big Ten for tomorrow. Nebraska has not lost a basketball game yet. They are on the road at Minnesota coming up tomorrow, and they're only laying 5.5 or 6 points against the Gophers. Fred Hoiberg is arguably the coach of the year in the country at the moment. No one saw this coming for the Huskers, but on the road against Minnesota, can the Gophers give the first L to Nebraska?
It's one of those things where, God bless our guy, Dave Sheriff, we miss him. And Dave used to talk to me about, road, favorites that are ranked by a couple of points and you go the other way. But this is kind of just teetering outside of that. I'm going to go ahead, and I think Fred Hoiberg, who is the coach of the year right now, you can talk about Dusty May, you can talk about Tommy Lore, you can talk about a bunch of guys. You can talk about Shaheen Holloway, what he's done at Seton Hall. They lost a couple in a row. I do like, obviously, Freddie Hoiberg and his troops to get the job done away. I'll lay the points tomorrow.
Houston's on the road at Texas Tech. It's a top 15 matchup in the Big 12. What do you make of that game? Because it's a number that's kind of interesting here. It opened up at 3.5. It's been bet down to 1.5 here. Some money on Tech being at home.
Well, listen, if you look at it, Matt, 9-2 run by Houston last time out, 69-64. Kingston Fleming's big shot down the stretch. But if you start looking at Houston, 73, 48, 55, 65, 60, 60. You know what that is? Their defense is back. So, and you kind of talked about, I've heard Calvin Sampson talk about, especially Chris Sinak and Kingston Flemings, not being those defensive guys. Grant McCaslin, they'll fight you in a phone booth as well. I'm going under tomorrow. I think it's going to be a really tight, close to the best game.
Do you put Houston in the conversation for the top team in the country?
Yes, because I'm going to say this. With the guard play of Miles Uzon and Emmanuel Sharp, they could beat you up front with Sinak and Tugler in the pivot. But here is the difference. Every year we say this. They get a little bit better offensively. Kingston Flemings, forget Jamal Shedd, forget Marcus Sasser, forget all these guys. This is the best offensive player Calvin Sampson has coached, and that is the key. He could be the closer. They're in that conversation for a team that could win a national championship.
Is this their year, or do you like somebody else here? It's only January, but is this the year for Houston?
I think it's their year, but here's the thing. Them, Arizona, BYU, Iowa State, Kansas, now that Peterson is back, they can have fun getting out of the Big 12 alive. That will be the case.
It's the year of the freshman for sure in college basketball. Coach, thanks, man. Appreciate it. More to come.
What is going on with this John Morant saga, right? John's on the block. John wants to be traded. But now John comes back and he denies all trade talks and John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Rolling on a Friday night, Matt Perrault in for Kevin here on Game Time Decisions. Thanks to JY for Coach for coming in, talking some basketball. Let's talk some football, some hockey. George Kurtz jumping in here with us. Kurtzy, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. I got to ask you a question about the Buffalo Bills because I know you're not down. You're further south than what's going on up in Buffalo. But when you hear that Phillip Rivers is being interviewed as for a head coaching position with the Buffalo Bills, what goes through your mind?
FST earlier, maybe 2 hours ago, when Buffalo fires McDermott. And listen, I get it. I understand he's only able to get you to a certain place. You know, he can't get over that hump. Fine, I understand that. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying I understand that. But the first thing that goes through my mind, Matt, is, oh, they have somebody in mind.
Yes.
Like, you're not firing McDermott unless you have somebody in mind. There's somebody they want. And listen, maybe that's one of the teams that are still playing and they can't hire that person yet. But when I see Phillip Rivers, is it a courtesy interview? All right. Oh, somebody owes him a favor, whatever. You give him some experience. Fine, I understand that. But if this is serious, you're going from McDermott to Phillip Rivers. Really? Is this what you want to do? But then again, hey, after that interview we saw earlier this week, the press conference with Perrault and Bean, nothing would surprise me right now. Is Perrault becoming the new Jerry Jones? Because this is the first thing I thought. This is a Jerry Jones move, right? Jason Witten will be a head coach of the Cowboys before long. Don't think for a minute that's not going to happen here. And that's the first thing that went through my mind. Oh my God, it's Jerry Jones, but in Buffalo.
If that were to go down, if you're Josh Allen, how do you feel about being coached by Phillip Rivers? Does that bother you? Or are you like, okay, it's a contemporary, he played the position, I'll give the guy a shot?
He's not going to outcoach anybody. And listen, Buffalo, their window is somewhat shrinking, right? I mean,
yep.
It's not like he's going to be great forever, but he's got 4 or 5 years, good years left. They got to build around him, but he's not going to. Who's he going to outcoach? So that's already sort of a minus every game you go into. He could grow into that, but it's going to take years. It's not going to take games. It's going to take years here. I just don't see. I think Rivers is. I guess if Allen, well, he's a quarterback. He knows what I go through. He'll understand all my problems, all that. Fine, but it would be Billy Beane's show, right? And do you trust? Would Allen trust him to build the team around him?
I think I trust Billy Beane.
Receiver.
It's Brandon Beane. I think I would
Brandon
trust Billy
Beane.
Beane. I would trust Billy Beane more than I do Brandon
Moneyball.
Beane.
I just, if I'm Josh Allen, but they say Josh Allen's going to have say in this, so I got to assume that if it were to happen, and I don't think it will, but if it were to happen, that Josh Allen's on board.
Boy, oh boy, we'll watch that for sure. All right, take your biases and put it aside for a second in your anti-Boston everything. Where are you on the AFC Championship game? Denver catching 5.5 or 5 points from the Patriots on Sunday.
People have to remember, all right, I do very well at separating my fandom from my fantasy from my gambling. All right, yeah, I'm a Yankee fan, so I hate the Red Sox, right? I don't really hate the Patriots, by the way. I'm not a Jets or Giants fan. They've done nothing to the Cowboys, pretty much, other than beat them every time they play in the regular season, so I don't care. And as for hockey, Boston, the Islanders, doesn't mean much. Once again, I am big time on the Patriots this Sunday. All right, I took them as soon as it came out at 4.5. Jumped on that, took them at 5.5. I am surprised, Matt, that it's bounced back to 4.5. They can play up Stidham all they want. And everybody's doing that because they want the eyeballs on the game, right? Oh, yeah, he's going to keep him in the game. It's going to be a great game here. Watch the game, all that sort of stuff. Come on. Really? He may be one of the best backups in the NFL, maybe. And I do think Sean Payton will do a great job of getting him ready. But unless Drake May is turning the ball over 17 times again, and he's been terrible in the playoffs, but unless he's doing that again, I think this is a runaway. It may take a while to get there. I think it might be close for a half. I think Patriot fans will be scared for a half, but then in that second half, it starts to pull away here. That's what I think is going to happen here. As I'll say this over and over again on every show. If the Patriots lose on Sunday, I'm going to be in the witness protection program because I'm going to be broke. All right, because I'm taking them. I took them on the money line. I'm going to have them parlays up the wazoo with other hockey games that are going on here. You just cannot tell me that the Denver Broncos are going to win this game. And by the way, if you believe in conspiracy theories, you're talking the NFL and NBC really want Stidham in the Super Bowl.
I agree. Yes.
No.
Yes, I get spending 2 weeks talking about Jared Stidham at Auburn and how he wound up with the Patriots and then the Raiders and then the Broncos. Yeah, nobody wants that. No one's interested in listening to that for 2 weeks. So I'm with you there. And the rematch between either the Seahawks or the Rams, there's a lot of teeth to both of those storylines that you could really get into for 2 weeks. So that goes to the NFC. Seattle at home, laying 2.5 against the Rams. The Rams are going on the road for a third consecutive week. Traditionally, this is a death spot. I'm fading that. I don't like the Rams. I like Seattle at home. Where are you on the NFC Championship?
Yeah, you and I are lock, stock, and barrel here. I like almost said the Mariners. I like the Seahawks at home as well. I mean, I think they're going to protect Darnold. I think they realize, we can't have him throwing the ball 35, 40 times. He will turn it over. This should be a big Kenneth Walker game, who looks fantastic of late here. No Zach Charbonneau tore his ACL. He was well put on IR here. Yeah. And I don't think it's going to be a split, by the way, between Walker and whatever back. Hold on. Whoever else they got there. I don't think it's going to be a split. It's going to be the Walker show. It could be your final game of the season. You play your best player here. So I like the Seahawks as well. I don't think it's going to be what was the first game between these two teams? 39-33? I don't think it's going to be that kind of game. I don't think it's going to be wide open. I don't think it's going to be a football game. The football score. But I like the Hawks. The defense is just so good. And, Matt, I wonder if we're going to find out, other than the finger injury or the hand injury that Stafford suffered a couple weeks ago, he hasn't been the same since that first game in Carolina. I wonder if there's something else going on here. Maybe it's just old age, and it's catching up with him. Maybe that's it here. But I do wonder if something else is going on there because he has not been the same player since then.
Good point. We got some games tonight in the hockey on the ice that I want to get to. And Colorado at home up against Philadelphia. Do you give the Flyers any shot here? The Avalanche have just been absolutely automatic at home. I mean, do you bet them in 60 in regulation? Any way to approach that Avs game at home? They're $3 favorites against the Flyers.
Yeah, 320, right? Listen, Colorado's lost 5 of 8 now, right? They're struggling a little bit. Every team does this, like baseball season, right? And same thing with hockey teams. Long season, you're going to struggle at some point, and right now, Colorado is doing it. So I do think the Flyers have a chance. I'm not betting it, but I do think they have a shot, sure. Listen, everybody knows me. I like my parlays. So, and by the way, I lost the last time on Colorado. I think, what did they play last night or the night before? I lost because I bet on Colorado. I forget who they played. I actually was almost positive they'd win the game, and they did not. But I'll go back to the well tonight. I'll have them in a parlay here. But give me the Avs tonight. But I don't think the Flyers are dead. You know, I'm sure our man Cam Stewart, I'm sure he's on the Flyers, right? He loves his dogs. Woof, woof, woof.
Hey, it's a pretty nice price on the dog tonight if you want to take a shot here with Philadelphia. The Vegas Golden Knights last night gave up 4 straight goals to the Boston Bruins in the first period, and they're favored tonight on the road on a back-to-back against Toronto. I don't understand the line, George, but do you like the home dog Leafs here?
Well, this is the game of the night, right? Forget about who's going to win. Mitch Marner goes back to Toronto.
Yeah.
All right, and they're going to kill him. All right, it's not justified. All right, he doesn't deserve it. They're going to kill him. Those fans are going to be. They hated him while he was there. Right, he got blamed.
Yep.
They lost the playoff series. It wasn't Matthews' fault. It wasn't Nylander's fault. It wasn't the fact you have no goaltender and your defense sucks. No, it was Mitch Marner's fault. All right, they booed him out of town here, where he couldn't wait to get away there. Don't they wish they had him back now? So this is the game. It's on in 20 minutes. Certainly be paying attention to this tonight. And you're right. I don't know what was going on with Vegas last night. All right, you look at the score, 1-2. What the hell happened here? And I was on Vegas last night, so I wasn't happy about that. Second half of back-to-back nights, I'm taking Toronto. Taking Toronto, by the way. And by the way, Stolars is back as well, the goaltender here. I'll go with Toronto. I don't feel great about it. It's not a big bet, by the way. Nothing that I'm going to be upset about if I lose here. But it's a back-to-back night situation, which automatically makes me generally go towards the team, the fresher team. We'll see if the fans can get energized them. I would take a Marner, and I have a Marner anytime goal, however.
Ooh, over under in the game, like 6 over under.
It's Toronto. Either you take the over or you leave it alone.
Yes.
I'm not taking an under with Toronto. I probably lean towards the over, but I did not play it.
Yeah, I think you have to look at this just from back-to-back with Vegas. Vegas has been an over team on the road. Toronto over. Yeah, I think if there are some 6s in the market, so you can go ahead and jump in on that if you would like. Kurtzy, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. We will roll on here on Game Time Decisions. Mark Zeno is going to stop on by. I'm guessing him and I are going to be arguing a lot in the next segments. Stick around here on Game Time Decisions.
What is going on with this John Morant saga, right? John's on the block. John wants to be traded. But now John comes back and he denies all trade targets, and John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clint Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there.
Yeah.
To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. Here's the
There's
thing.
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions here on a Friday night. Matt Perrault in for Kevin. We're going to hopefully chit-chat with Mark Zinno here in a couple of seconds. We'll get some football takes out of him and talk a bit about the games going to take place in college basketball and the NBA as well. Just to kind of dovetail back as to what we were talking about here with the Buffalo Bills and their coaching search. And I think George said it perfectly, that when the decision came to fire Sean McDermott, you would have thought there was going to be some plan in place that, hey, we need to make this move now because there are so many openings. We have identified that there is a coach that we want, so we're going to go and get that coach, and that's why we're going to fire Sean McDermott now. Was the firing justified? I mean, he lost 3 straight playoff games by 3 points in consecutive years. So you could say, hey, we went for 9 years with you, and we are now moving into a brand new football stadium. Our fans have to be energized. We have to give them a sense or a hope that we're going to be one of the best teams in the AFC next year. But if you're going to downgrade, or you're going to take, and I don't think it's going to be Phillip Rivers, but if you're going to take a coordinator or somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience, I don't get why you would fire Sean McDermott. I mean, look at the AFC at the moment. The Dolphins have a new head coach in Jeff Haley. You've got the Patriots with now a second-year coach who just won the division. The Jets have a first-year coach, going to be second-year coach that won't see a third year, most likely, unless Aaron Glenn changes the trajectory of the Jets in a big way. The Bills are still a roster that is built to win right now. And I don't get why you would make that decision to fire Sean McDermott unless it was an emotional reaction, which it does feel like it was an emotional reaction by this organization to fire Sean McDermott. That everybody was so angry that, again, the team went and lost again. And this time, no Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow in the playoffs, and it's Bo Nix who knocks you out. That felt very reactionary and very emotional. And there are 5 jobs left that are open in the NFL at the moment. The Raiders job, I think, will get filled at some point in the next week or so. If Mike McCarthy is really getting the job in Pittsburgh, that job is going to be filled. So then we're sitting here with the Bills versus the Cardinals in terms of, like, where are we going? What direction are we going to have a head coaching, candidacy? I don't know what to make of it, to be quite honest. I find this to be, John Harbaugh was a home run. I like Kevin Stefanski. I wanted him in Vegas. So I like what the Falcons went and did and grabbed a hold of him. So I don't mind that. But this Phillip Rivers stuff can't be serious with the Buffalo Bills. I mean, that can't be serious. Oh, wait, let's get the president of the Josh Allen fan club to jump on in. He's the one and only Mark Zinno joining us here on Game Time Decisions. What's up, my friend? Good to see you. Uh-oh. Your mic's muted. We can't hear you. Oh, no. We need to hear. Oh, wait. Now I got you.
Okay, good. I was saying, you're really starting to annoy me. I just want you to know that. I've had about enough of you and your Patriots stand BS. Okay.
Sorry.
Listen, I'm not rooting against the Patriots. I'm not rooting against Drake May. But that said, look, I don't know what's going on in Buffalo right now. I really don't. Like, the idea that we're interviewing Phillip Rivers to me seems more laughable than anything else. Like, this seems like it's unserious at this point. Like, it genuinely does. Like, can we please get the adults back in the room? And I think we've learned 2 things this week. One, Terry Pagula should never be put in front of a microphone again. And number 2, the fact that he is now in charge of this whole thing has this whole team hustling backwards and this whole organization hustling backwards. Look, I don't necessarily disagree with the premise of firing Sean McDermott from the standpoint of it's kind of like the definition of insanity, right? You're expecting different results doing the same thing over and over again. I don't know that happens. What's bothersome is it was one, they told us it was an emotional decision. It was because of the loss to the Broncos. And 2, you didn't have a plan. Like, there was no preconceived, you could tell there was no discussions like, hey, team, if we lose this, team being, Pagula talking to his staff. Hey, guys, if we lose this game, we're going to fire Sean. Like, what's our plan here? Who are we looking at? Who are we targeting? We've seen everybody that's been hired already. We know who's available. What are we doing? Like, they clearly did not have a plan for this at all. And so now they're shooting from the hip.
Right. And I think they're going to get stuck, I think, with a coordinator who is somewhat inexperienced. And it feels like a step backwards at the position. I know maybe a coach with a new voice comes into the locker room, but when you have a guy who's been there for 9 years, he went 12-5 this year, Mark. It's not like I would have fired him too, but I would have fired him knowing I had somebody better waiting in the wings. It's not Mike Tomlin. It's not John Harbaugh. It doesn't feel like it's going to be a step down no matter who they hire.
And the thing is, it's not even about having somebody better. It's just about having the plan. Like, I don't know if anybody's going to be better. I don't know. In reality, you and I could coach Josh Allen to 11 wins. Like, it's not that monumental of a task, right? I mean, Josh Allen alone gives you 9, if not 10 wins, just because he's on the field. So we're not asking for much here. The real question is can he coach somebody? Can somebody coach them through the playoffs and make critical decisions that open the door for them to get past certain opponents and everything else? So I don't know that it's necessarily somebody better, but at least a plan. Like, if you had a plan like, hey, Joe Brady, the OC, is taking over. This is where we're going, and we're going to give him the reins and let him do it. He'll call plays, and I'll be on the sidelines, and, we're going to go out and look for a new defensive coordinator. Like, okay, at least you had a plan. Like, even if the plan doesn't work, at least you went into the firing knowing what your next step was. But Phillip Rivers, this is an unserious decision at this point.
Well, the most longest tenured coach in the AFC East is now in New England with Mike Vrabel as the first-year head coach. So it is a complete turnover of the division. Did it hurt, do you think, even more from a Bills fan perspective, not just the loss, but the loss that you didn't have the Bengals, Ravens, or the Chiefs in the bracket to begin with?
I mean, like, yes and no. Like, that's narrative stuff that people want to hang a hat on, per se. Getting to the Super Bowl is hard enough. If you have to face those guys, is it harder? Maybe, but there's that's stuff for reflection after this is all said and done.
Well, we've not heard Mark's picks yet, so we'll get to the AFC and the NFC picks coming up for Sunday's championship games. We'll find out who he thinks is getting to San Francisco. Patriots going again, or is it going to be the Broncos and Jared Stidham? Go next.
What is going on with this John Morant saga, right? John's on the block. John wants to be traded. But now John comes back and he denies all trade talk and says John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's the head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. Matt Perrault in for Kevin here tonight. Mark Zino kind of to hang out for another segment. We did not get his picks for the games for the AFC and NFC championship games. Mark, let's start with the first game on Sunday. Patriots are now laying 5 or 5.5 points on the road. I still can't figure out this number, even with Jared Stidham playing quarterback. This feels heavy to me. Where are you on Broncos Patriots?
Well, I mean, look at it from this perspective, right? If Bo Nix was playing, my numbers have the Broncos as a 1.5, 2-point favorite in the game. I ask you, is Bo Nix worth 6.5 to 7 points? No, it's not. It's not. Like, it's just Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, those guys are worth 6, 7 points. Bo Nix is not worth 6 or 7 points. So I think the number is way too heavy at this point in time to back the Patriots. But I have a better way to play this game without having to lay, especially a dead number at 4.5 or 5, right? I'm going to take the Broncos team total over 17.5. And I think, I actually think the game goes over. That's number one. Number two, it doesn't get over without the Broncos getting at least 20 points here. Number three, for as much as we all want to bang on Jared Stidham, he's been in the system for 3 years. The last time he played 2 years ago, obviously, when he threw a pass, he threw for over 200 yards in the game. Like, Sean Payton, for my money, guys, is still the best coach in the league. Like, I don't know when we stop regarding him as the best coach in the league. He is. And he's the best schemer in the league. Nobody is better in the NFL at exploiting what you're bad at and taking advantage of what you're bad at and stopping what you do best than Sean Payton. He's always been that coach, always. So I'm not worried about Jared Stidham being that terrible. If he is that terrible, guess what? The Broncos ain't scoring 17 points. They're not covering, and they're certainly not winning the game. So if he's that awful, it's going to be awful early, and he's probably not getting out of it. But I would argue that Sean Payton is good enough to scheme everything for him and to him to make him a viable and make the offense viable. And I would argue, too, that if the Bills could put up 30 on Denver, well, I'm not saying the Patriots offense is as good as the Bills. I believe the Patriots could probably still get to 24 here, which means that if you want Denver to cover, they've got to get to 20. And I think they can do it. And I would tell you, too, if it's bad, Matt, and I'm sitting at 14 or whatever it is, and it's, 27-14, is there a world where a late garbage touchdown by Denver gets through the back door to get over that team total? I think so. So I feel like I got a lot more outs with Denver's team total to go over the number than anything else.
Yeah, I like the over more than the team total, but I think you're right about the idea that this game is probably going to be more high scoring. I'm just very concerned about Stidham's ability to move the football on the Patriots if they can't run the ball, because the Patriots defense has not allowed anybody to run. Look at last week with the Texans. If you can't run on the Patriots, it's all on Stidham.
I get it. But if the Houston Texans, putrid, impotent, stagnant offense can score on New England, I think Sean Payton and the Broncos can. Like,
it's all on Jared Stidham. But I mean, it's all on whether or not he's able to play. And I don't think anybody knows until the lights go on whether he's going to be able to do that or not. Now, the NFC, it's a 2.5-point number. I feel as confident as you are on the Broncos covering and going over team total wise. I think Seattle wins and Seattle covers the 2.5 points here. I just think it's a really hard spot for the Rams with 3 consecutive road games and an overtime win over the Bears last week. Where are you on the NFC?
Rams plus the points. I mean, I think I don't know how much more we want to rely on Sam Darnold. Remember, in the 2 games he's played, threw 6 interceptions. That's a lot. It's a lot of interceptions against one team. And I think the Rams defense is ready for him. I don't think people are talking enough about Zach Charbonnet missing and how much he means to that offense. I mean, you got to remember, this is a guy who it was a 60-40 carry split with Kenneth Walker. And this is a guy who still caught 3 or 4 passes a game. Where is that being made up? Like, in the pass game, I could see Raheed Shaheed catching some more balls. I think that's a worthwhile prop to look at for his receptions number for Seattle. But, is Walker getting 20 carries a game? Like, is he getting 20 carries this week? Because he's more likely to get hurt than anything else doing that, I think. So I think that the Rams are the better offense here. The opponents know each other well. Weather conditions are decently favorable, all things considered. If they can keep Stafford upright, and that's a big if, I think the Rams come out on top here.
I'm going to be very curious. You're right about the Charbonnet injury really impacts the red zone. He was their thumper inside the red zone. He was a vulture on touchdown. So that could keep this number. It's why the under, I think, has come in a bit. People are betting under 47.5 here in the game because of that Charbonnet injury. But I'm with you. I think that Charbonnet injury is very significant for the Seattle defense, or the offense rather. But I do like that Seattle defense up against this Rams offense. I think it's going to be that game is going to be, I think, more entertaining than the first game. Mark, good stuff. Appreciate you on a Friday night. Thanks for stopping on by. Hour one in the tank. Hour two next here on BB.
7% chance of winning a PGA Tour major, would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Hour number 2 for Game Time Decisions. Matt Perrault in for Kevin tonight here on a Friday night. We flew through that first hour. Coming up later on in this hour, we're going to talk a little football, as you'd expect. Rob Donaldson's going to come on by. Brady Cannon's going to come in and talk some golf, as well as the NFL with what's going to happen on Sunday. And we were talking narratives a little bit during the first hour. And I think, not to play like full-blown conspiracy theorists, but there is something I think to be said about the fact that the NFL is a television show and that the Super Bowl is their biggest of nights. And so for them, if they're going to be picking the Patriots and the Rams, guarantees both sides of the country. It guarantees history. Sean McVay storylines. We go back and revisit the 13-3 win for the Patriots, which, if you remember, was one of the biggest nights for sports books in America, because that game went under everything. Not just the game going under. Team totals both went under. Every single offensive prop on both sides, Patriots and the Rams, all went under. It was an absolute bloodbath for the public who loves to come in and bet over on everything. It went completely the opposite way. It was one of the most boring Super Bowls we've ever seen. There was no offense. The Patriots dominated a top 10 offense in the Rams that year, held them to 3 points. No one saw that game plan coming from the Patriots and Bill Belichick, and it was a complete mismatch coaching-wise between Belichick and Sean McVay. Now, Belichick's not there. Mike Vrabel's there. But if it is Patriots Rams, there's a lot to get into. If we do see Seahawks Rams, well, then we're going to go back and have the conversation about Marshawn Lynch for 2 weeks, right? Marshawn Lynch on Radio Row, Media Row, whatever you want to call it, Marshawn Lynch is going to be one of the most hottest sought after guests in the entire week, to get him to sit down and say something about what happened between him and Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson and why he didn't get the football when he should have gotten the football. And instead the pass gets thrown. Malcolm Butler becomes a household name by jumping the route, intercepts the pass from Russell Wilson. Patriots win. Tom Brady has the most awkward, up and down jumping, celebration that we've seen out of any quarterback before as the Patriots win. My daughter was young enough. She's 11 now. My daughter was on my arm, asleep on my shoulder. She was so little. And I nearly dropped her when that interception happened because I was so mad. I was pacing around my apartment at the time because I thought the Patriots had blown it and lost another Super Bowl. So there are so many storylines for Seahawks and Patriots and for Patriots and the Rams. There is obviously a rematch there between Denver and Seattle to talk about, and the Seahawks did win their Super Bowl against the Broncos. So there's that whole angle to get into. But I just think if you look at this from a conspiratorial segment, if we're all sitting here and there's a call like there was between the Bills and the Broncos, and if it goes the Patriots' way, I'm not going to be stunned because of the way the thing is going. We have a lot of bad press in the media about the Bad Bunny halftime show. There's a lot of people really angry about that. There's all sorts of stories leaking out about what that show is going to look like and how some people in this country are going to be ferociously angry at what they're going to watch at halftime of the Super Bowl. I don't care. It's the halftime show. I'm watching the game. I don't care who performs at halftime, but some people do. And some people were really upset about it. And I think the NFL will be aware of that. So if you want to go full tin hat, tin conspiracy theorist, you can with this and say, okay, the Patriots are going to win. How did Bo Nix get hurt? I think that story is going to have to be told at some point in the near future. I've talked to some people here this week who have heard some rumors about where Bo Nix actually got hurt, that he aggravated it during the game, but the injury itself may have happened in the locker room after the game. So I think that story needs to be told at some point after the season's over. I think we'll find out, because look, Jared Stidham is right now getting talked about like he was Tom Brady. Like he is the 4th round pick that nobody respected. And he was, we have to at least take into consideration that he could not beat out Bo Nix. Okay. They drafted Bo Nix. They brought in Jared Stidham. He's been a project for Sean Payton for a while, and yet he hasn't beaten out Bo Nix, or even it's never been talked about. Now, Bronco media has talked him up about how good he looked during the preseason and how good Jared Stidham, according to the players, and, Max Crosby of the Raiders is saying how good he was. And the Patriots, when they let him go, how the team thought it was a mistake that the Patriots didn't sign Jared Stidham, and they were psyched to get him in Vegas to be the quarterback for the Raiders. And in week 17 and 18 of the year he played 3 years ago, he played really well. Okay, those are washout games at the end of the year that didn't matter. This is the biggest game of the year. And the Patriots have tons of film, and Josh McDaniels was his offensive coordinator in New England. They know what this guy can do. They know what he's good at. If they dink and dunk left and right, the Patriots are going to jump the routes the same way they did against CJ Stroud. And that would be my concern. If I'm looking at this and betting on the Broncos to win this game, not cover, but taking money line for the Broncos to win this game, I'd be really concerned. The 11-1 ticket on them to win the Super Bowl equally would concern me, because that's what the books are telling you about Jared Stidham. They're not in on Jared Stidham. They're very concerned about him and his ability. The other 3 teams are all viable. You don't normally see a team in the Final Four with that on your screen. An 11-1 dog, an 11-1 to win the Super Bowl normally doesn't happen when you're the 1 seed and you're at home. That's all the quarterback. That's what they think of for Jared Stidham. And you could say that might be the books trying to get people to bet it, trying to generate some revenue, whatever it might be, whatever you want to come up with as to why the books are hanging that number. But it's because they think that is the case for Jared Stidham. They simply do not believe that Jared Stidham is going to be able to win 2 more football games, and it will be the first 2 wins of the season. And I have a hard time arguing with that point, that you're asking this kid to step into a place, not just a big regular season game. This is an AFC championship game. This is for the trip to the Super Bowl. You're going to get everyone's A game for the Patriots. No one's overlooking Jarrett Stidham. No one's going to, sit there and go, I'm not going to hit you, or I'm not going to play hard because it's week 15 or week 16. This is empty the tank time for the Patriots. Every exotic defense, every exotic blitz, the ones they threw at CJ Stroud, they're going to come up with all new ones. And CJ Stroud threw 4 picks. He threw 4 picks in the first half against the Patriots because they had nobody to take the top off the defense. Little Jordan Humphreys is not going to take the top off the defense for the Broncos. I like Cortland Sutton, but if he has Christian Gonzalez on him, just go ahead and say goodbye. Like, he's going to erase him. So then what? RJ Harvey on wheel routes? Like, who are you throwing to? That's the problem, I think, for everybody that's talking up Jarrett Stidham and how they're trusting Sean Payton so much to have a scheme that this kid's going to be able to execute. If they can't run the football, there is no RPO game. If there's no RPO game, then it's all on Jarrett Stidham and his arm. And I don't think I would be banking on a 4th-round pick from Auburn who has played in 4 games in his NFL career, who hasn't played in 3 years. You're telling me you're putting your money and you're banking on that guy to win? The defense can keep them in the game. There's no debating on that. We're talking about covering a 4.5 or 5-point spread. And that's why I think George Kurtz is right. He said in the last hour, he's all in on the Patriots because of everyone talking so much about Jarrett Stidham and so much about the Broncos. The books are telling you what they think because the professionals are coming in here and laying this, and they're worried about the sharp money coming in on New England while so many people in the public are listening to the narrative around Jarrett Stidham, and they think this guy is going to pull out a magic act, and he's going to do something spectacular on Sunday, and he's going to be better than Bo Nix, and he very well might be. But if he wins this game, this is a movie, all right? This is a movie scene for Jarrett Stidham against his former team, who hasn't played a lick of football in 3 years, to walk off the sidelines and win the AFC championship. Sorry, they may cover. I cannot see the Patriots losing that game to Jarrett Stidham.
.7% chance of winning a PGA Tour major. Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. only on SportsGrid.
Vegas on the board out of the gates against Toronto. That's the game of the night in the NHL. So a good start for Vegas after giving up, 3 goals in the first period to the Boston Bruins last night, being down 3-0. A nice start to Vegas's night in Toronto on the back-to-back. Let's talk some college basketball, NFL football as well. Rob Donaldson's been kind enough to jump in here on Game Time Decisions. Rob, Matt Perrault, it's good to see you. Let's start with Ohio State and Michigan here coming up, because I'm curious your take. The game at the top of the hour, obviously the number 3rd ranked Wolverines, heavy favorites against Ohio State, but this is a big rivalry game. Any thoughts on the Buckeyes keeping it close?
Yeah, and obviously this doesn't have the kind of same flavor as it would if it were being played on the gridiron, right? But at the same time, there's still an element here where there's going to be fuel in the building. It's a Friday night. It's also just a Big Ten game, and Big Ten games in general, when the students are on campus, are always going to be electric. Now, the nice thing about, I think, the NIL and transfer portal era is there's a lot of veterans in all these starting lineups, and we're seeing it on both sides here. And we're also seeing a lot of teams kind of weather that crazy environment storm. I mean, I think back 2 weeks ago when Michigan was laying this number against Wisconsin and lost outright. I think this could be a very similar type of feel where this is going to be almost a 2 or 3 possession game all the way through, with Ohio State having a chance down the stretch. But 16.5 or 15.5 points out there, I really like taking the points of the Buckeyes here tonight.
All right, so here we are on a Saturday, and I asked this question of Coach James Young in the first hour. I'm going to ask it of you as well, because when the entire Eastern Seaboard, and it's stretching all the way to Texas, we've got 10 games that have already been canceled. I'm not sure how many more may be postponed or canceled before we get to tip-off tomorrow night. We could have half-empty or completely empty gyms around the country if fans can't get to the buildings to watch these games on Saturday due to the weather. Does that impact your handicap at all for some of these games being played tomorrow?
100%. I think if you look at the Midwest, I think if you look at the East Coast, because even in the Midwest where there's not snow, you're going to see like negative 30-degree feel like temperatures. And how many people are actually going to make it to that game? Here in Iowa, that's going to be the case. In Minnesota, where Nebraska's traveling to, that's going to be the case. And I think you're going to see a lot of lines that indicate the potential upset, the sneaky spot. Well, I'd be wary of that if you don't actually believe in the team that is the host in those matchups. And so, yeah, to your point, whereas maybe I would have been inclined to take a Minnesota at a 7.5 or 6.5 type line just because of it being a little bit of a sneaky line. Well, maybe I'm going to be kind of staying off those games this weekend. And I feel like across the board, that is going to be my approach.
Well, you mentioned the Huskers. They're undefeated. They're laying 5.5 or 6 on the road at Minnesota. 2-part question. First, do you buy that this Nebraska team could be a contender in March? And secondly, you kind of tipped it a bit, but I'm assuming you're taking the Huskers laying the points tomorrow.
Yeah, I would kind of go ahead and go take the Huskers. And I don't love buying in high on a team, right? I think ultimately that's just an ultimate stay away. But to that point, when you're looking at whether it's, Arizona, Nebraska, Michigan, some of these teams that I think have shown such dominance and such a coverability with every single line, eventually that stock gets just too high and you don't want to buy in at the very tippy top with these teams. And so inherently, you kind of want to take the other side. Now, there are some kind of special circumstances where you don't want to take that other side because of the factors that we just laid out for Minnesota, for example. And that's why I think Nebraska, I think they're legit. I think they're going to be a contender come March. How far do they go? Maybe Elite Eight is kind of the cap, but I think they're still going to be in that mix. And in terms of kind of these game-by-game scenarios, I wouldn't be wanting to back them over the next 5 if they just continue to win and cover.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how they close out, because football has not gone great. And here is Fred Hoiberg as one of the last undefeated teams in college basketball and maybe coach of the year in college basketball, doing some incredible things in Lincoln right now with the Huskers. There's a game, Rob, in the ACC I want to get your take on. North Carolina traveling to Virginia. The Cavs are 5-1 in conference, while North Carolina is 3-3 in the ACC. And you don't often see a 7.5-point spread where Carolina is the dog here in this game. Virginia, big favorites. You want to lay it with the Cavs here at home, or do the Tar Heels take it with plus 7.5?
Well, you know, at this point, especially after that West Coast road trip for UNC, losing to Cal and Stanford, and it wasn't even really close in any of those second halves, I think, one, it shines a major, major light on Hubert Davis, who's already had kind of the spotlight on him in terms of job security over the last 2 or 3 years. And now it's heightened, right? You have a new coach in Ryan Odom coming into Virginia where they were in the doldrums last year. Now they're relevant. Is all of a sudden Virginia just going to surpass North Carolina on the hierarchy? Or are they just going to let that happen by 2 possessions? I tend to think that's not going to be the case. And so I think that North Carolina is going to show up. And to the point of us kind of mentioning about the weather factor here as well, I think a lot of things are aligning for North Carolina cover and even an outright win in this matchup.
How about that? Outright 7.5 point dogs. You get a nice price on them on the money line to go ahead and win. Rob, one more game going back to the Big Ten. Illinois and Purdue, a top 15 matchup on national TV tomorrow. Purdue is at home, 7-1 in conference. Both these teams are 7-1 in conference. The number opened up at 2.5. It's been bet up to 5.5 for Purdue. Illinois get it done, or you're like the home Boilermakers here tomorrow?
Well, this is going to be one of the games and one of the atmospheres I'm curious to see, because Mackey is typically on fire. It doesn't really matter when, rain or shine, right? If people are showing up. And I do think that there's still going to be an element of play where Purdue is going to have that home court edge. At the same time, Illinois has gone into some tough environments, whether on a neutral floor or on the road. And when you're talking about Iowa City or going down to Nashville to play Tennessee, and they've really looked really well. And I think, again, it kind of speaks to the fact that their roster construction has been, Euro players. It's been through the transfer portal with veterans. And I think this is a really proven bunch. Getting over that kind of that full possession, I think, was enough of a buying point or enough of a selling point to me to want to take Illinois. And so I am going to be taking the Illini there in Mackey tomorrow.
Very cool. We'll get to some football coming up in the next segment with Rob. By the way, it's 2-0. 2-0 the Golden Knights up against the Toronto Maple Leafs there in the first period. So we've got the first period over. That hit. Vegas taking it to Toronto in a game that we had touched on during the first hour of the program. 2-0 Vegas is pretty impressive. That total was 6 or 6.5. We are going on a direct pace to wind up getting that game to go over. More on the AFC and NFC Championship games coming up tomorrow here on Game Time Decisions.
7% chance of winning a PGA Tour major. Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Friday night game time decisions. Matt Perrault is sitting in for Kevin tonight. Rob Donaldson's been kind enough to sit in and talk some basketball first, and now we're talking football. The NFC and AFC championship games. Who goes to San Francisco for the Super Bowl? On Sunday, we'll find out the last two teams standing for the NFL. Rob, I'm a Patriot fan, okay, and I have spent time in your state of Iowa. I've worked there. My Patriot fandom did not go over very well. A lot of cheeseheads, a lot of Bear fans, a lot of Chief fans in your neck of the woods. So not a lot of love for the Patriots in that part of the country. But this is a big number. 5 or 5.5 in a championship game for a road favorite going to Denver is still, even with Jared Stidham, is somewhat surprising to me. What's your read on Patriots Broncos?
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting line, right? Because it gets us over the field goal. Heck, it even gets us over a little bit on that 4 number, which can kind of operate in that increment of touchdowns being scored. And I think what's really consuming the narrative right now is, well, Drake May versus Jarrett Stidham. And yeah, obviously the Bo Nix story came out after the game, and now it is Jarrett Stidham's job. He has had the full week to prepare. But I think ultimately, when you look at Jarrett Stidham, that's not how the Broncos, method of victory is going to be in play. I still don't think they actually win this game outright, but I think when you're talking about Sean Payton, just a perfect orchestrator of this type of chaos, and they have enough backs, they have enough other kind of weapons offensively to kind of take a lot off his shoulders. I think we're going to see a very conservative game plan from Stidham. He still has a live arm where he can kind of pop one over the top here and there or take those chances. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the Denver running game, Denver defense to keep them in this ball game. And I think those factors are at play enough to cover a line like a 4.5, in my opinion.
I'm with you. My advice is take the points, take 5, take 5.5, take 4.5. I think the Patriots win the game by a field goal, but I can't. I've gone back and forth on the total for this game, whether it be high scoring or low scoring, because I don't think Denver is going to score. And I don't think Denver can run the football. I mean, the Patriots do not allow running backs to move anything against them. When they have Milton Williams and Robert Spillane on the field, they have not allowed a rusher to go over 75 yards. I just don't see it happening here for RJ Harvey, who has really decreased in his rushing yards. Really, for the last month, it's just been a downward slide for this running game for the Broncos. Everyone talked about the offensive line, but it hasn't done very well. And now it's a telegraph because they know what they want. Patriots know what the Broncos are going to try to do. Where are you on the total for the game?
Yeah, I think this screams, something like 17-21, 17-20 in terms of final score. And maybe even, the Broncos don't even get up that 17 mark. But I do think this plays really well to the under, because at the very least, this is going to be a ball sort of control type of approach from Denver. And if that is the approach, that means a running clock. That also means that Denver's defense is going to have to kind of step up with that bend, don't break mentality. And they've shown it all season that if PS2 is on the field, they're going to have a really good chance on limiting those touchdowns in the red zone, just because they're so lengthy on the back end. And that's where I ultimately think this game is decided in the red zone. Can those touchdowns get flipped to field goals? And I think they do. I do really like the under in this spot.
National, the NFC, this is the game I think everyone's going to be really pumped to watch. It's in the primetime spot. Seahawks at home laying 2.5 against the Rams. Who wins?
Yeah, and this is one of those games that I truly believe is like a true to its nature type of pick'em. And what's interesting about this is it's not a pick'em line. It kind of looks like it. It's a slight favor to the Seahawks, the home team. It's almost kind of that inherent buffer that a lot of these teams get in that sort of kind of pick'em feeling matchup. But ultimately, when you're getting a plus 122 money line price on a team that I think obviously features the better quarterback and an offense just in general that I think hums better than Seattle at their peak, well, I feel like that's a price that you just can't get in any sort of matchup. It takes this kind of special circumstance of it being a road game, being a playoff game, and all the heightened kind of scrutiny that goes into this type of line. And from that standpoint, I love the Rams money line. And if you're invested in the Rams, you got to be invested in the passing attack. I think Terrence Ferguson, who's actually kind of he's listed as the third string tight end, but he's getting featured more than Higbee right now. I love him at 6-1 to get a chance at a touchdown here in the red zone.
I don't hate it. I mean, Stafford spreads the ball around and is in pretty good value there on a 6-1 situation, and the weather won't be nearly as bad as it was last week. I just think the spot. The only thing I'm worried about for your bet with the Rams is that 3 straight road games and coming off an overtime performance. Teams are 0-5 straight up coming off of overtime performances, and teams coming on 3 straight road games in the postseason only cover at about 24%. So that's my only worry with that, but it's going to be a hell of a football game. Rob, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate you coming on. More to come here on Game Time Decisions.
Percent chance of winning a PGA Tour major. Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Friday night Game Time Decisions. Matt Perrault sitting in for Kevin. Brady Cannon joining us here as we will get to football. We will get to a lot of good things with golf as well. Brady, I mean, look, we'll talk about the American Express a little bit because there's a couple of stories that are like wowing me that the guys that were telling me about an 18-year-old kid, a high school kid that's setting the course on fire. But let's start football here real quick. Patriots and Jared Stidham. Are you buying this? That Jared Stidham can do this? Are you buying that the kid can keep the Broncos in this game?
I am. Yeah. And, it's that fallen hero theory type, phenomenon here where I think the rest of the team has been put on alert. They know that their star quarterback is not going to be in the game. So you've seen this happen before in all sports, Matt, that, the rest of the team knows that they have to fill that void and they probably have to, step up their game to another level to make up for the loss that in this case is Bo Nix. I think we've seen Stidham in the past. He's fine and couldn't maybe have a better coach to, handle this type of situation either. We know Sean Payton is really good with quarterbacks, the offensive game plan. I think he can just kind of put him in a little bit of a bubble and allow him to just manage this game, make a couple of passes and really not to try and, play above his head. J.K. Dobbins still listed as questionable. If he gets him back in the backfield, that'll be a big help. But I think we're really going to see this defense come back around to the defense that we were used to seeing in the first part of the season that had kind of dropped off a little bit in the last month or so. I think this puts that defense on notice. And I think you're going to see a really inspired effort out of the defense. The offensive line, I think, will be great. The fans are going to be on fire. It's going to be a very difficult environment for the New England Patriots. Jared Stidham or no Jared Stidham?
Yeah, and it's so weird because the Patriots are 8-0 this year away from home. And so, like, they have played so much better on the road. We're going to find out, I guess, why, because if they put up a performance and take the crowd out of it and get out to a quick start and do kind of what Buffalo was able to do is move the football. I mean, that's how you win on the road. Don't turn the ball over, take the crowd out of the game and get on them pretty quickly. It's funny about the Jared Stidham situation because we haven't heard anything about Jared Stidham until this time, right? I mean, if he was so good, why weren't there other teams trying to acquire him? And why wasn't there a competition in training camp with Jared Stidham like up against Bo Nix? And so it's been all Bo Nix. And now we're thrust into going, okay, this 4th round pick out of Auburn that the Patriots thought could be the heir apparent to Tom Brady, that they ultimately cut and that the Raiders let walk to their arch rival in the Broncos, is now in the spotlight to do some incredible things coming up on Sunday. I'm fascinated to see what he plays like, because Sean Payton right away, that's what triggered it for me, Brady, is that they didn't hide it. Like, the injury happened and he went right to the podium and was like, Jared's the guy. And I thought that was an indication of the confidence that the coach has in the quarterback, that there wasn't any games being played with Bo Nix's injury.
And I think he probably had to treat it that way, right? To give Jared Stidham confidence. You know, he doesn't want to show any doubt in his own player. And I do believe him. I think there's some coaching there and some philosophical, strategy. But I also believe that Peyton has a lot of faith in Jared Stidham. Peyton's a Bill Parcells guy, and the stories going around about, the locker room speech when Jeff Hostetler came in. And, I have a feeling Sean Payton is kind of reciting the same type of lecture here to get his team fired up and rally behind this quarterback. New England's a great story, man. I mean, they everybody talks about the schedule, and they've caught a lot of breaks playing a lot of backup quarterbacks, and CJ Stroud goes completely AWOL and turning the ball over, and no Nico Collins. There's a lot of different excuses you can make. But I tell you one thing that is interesting, the last 2 teams that the Patriots have faced, and we all of a sudden saw their defense kind of reemerge. The defense that we saw out of them earlier in the season really looked explosive against both the Chargers and the Texans. But what do the Chargers and the Texans have in common? Lousy offensive lines. And now you go into Denver, again, on the road, hostile environment, at elevation, against a very good offensive line who gives up the least amount of sacks in the NFL. So I think that's going to make life more difficult on New England, not being able to possibly get as much pressure on the quarterback and have success in that part of the game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just don't think they can run. So it's still going to be Jared Stidham's job, I think, to get the football out. I think he will get the ball out. I think Jared Stidham's going to play pretty well. I think the number is too high. I think 5.5 is too high.
If he plays average, right? If he just plays, let's say slightly above average, he should be fine. It's going to be up to the defense.
The NFC Championship game is far more difficult to call, I think, because of how good the Rams are. But I like Seattle because of the spot that the Rams are in with their 3rd straight traveling to a hostile environment and the overtime game last week against the Bears. I don't know how much is left in the tank here for the Rams up against Seattle, but where are you on the Rams? Can they pull off the upset and head on back to another Super Bowl?
I hear you loud and clear on the situation. The travel schedule and what have you definitely favors Seattle. But when I crunch the numbers, I think the Rams all season long, season wide, have been the better team. And that's what the numbers will tell you. When I crunch all the numbers, I come out with the Rams as a 1-point favorite. The play I made, Matt, is I teased both games. And I agree with you. I think 5.5 or 6 is too many. And who knows? Now we're seeing 4s. Maybe I even saw a 3.5 earlier today on the Denver game. Maybe it closes 3. when I crunch the numbers on the Denver game, I have Broncos -4.5. So what's the adjustment for Stidham? Is it 5 or 6 points? A lot of the odds makers out here think it's about 4 points. So who knows where this game closes? But just for my own, my comfort level, I tease the Broncos onto the other side of 10, whatever you want, 10.5 or 11. And then I tease the Rams to 8.5, which I think even if they lose the game will give me enough cushion. But I kind of think, Matt, that we're headed for a Broncos-Rams Super Bowl. I think both of the dogs could win outright this Sunday.
Yeah, Broncos being there, the Rams need to be there, or NBC is going to be pretty upset. They need a major market if the Broncos are in it, because 2 weeks of talking about Jared Stidham is going to be difficult for anybody, because that number, the look-ahead line, Brady, if you're right, is 7.5. Rams will be favored by 7.5 against the Broncos. So that's like when I was growing up.
That seems a little steep too, doesn't it?
It does, but I think it's just where the money's going to go, where the professional money is going to go. I think that they're going to hammer the Rams because they don't think Jared Stidham's going to be able, with 2 weeks preparation for the Rams against Jared Stidham. I agree.
Yeah,
I heard that
that's
and
a
I
good
went
point.
7.5. I was like, it's like, that's a big number for a Super Bowl.
Well, and it's interesting that it's 7.5 and not 6.5, right? The fact that it's 7.5 tells you it might go to 8. If it's not,
Right.
if it hasn't already been bet down to 7 or something, maybe it's headed the other direction. We'll see. That it's all contingent upon what happens on Sunday.
And I like your play. I mean, the Patriots blowing out the Broncos would be a sight to see. I mean, I think you would need Jared Stidham to play like CJ Stroud did last week.
Right.
I think you'd need to have multiple interceptions, multiple turnovers, and just he is the weak link. He is the reason why the CJ Stroud was the reason why the Texans lost. Jared Stidham does have to be the reason why the Broncos lost. Are you afraid about Matthew Stafford not being 100%? Because there's definitely rumblings out there that he's not healthy.
I don't know. They're talking about the finger, it bounced off a helmet or whatever when he was making a throw. Obviously, way back early in the offseason, he had the back issues and, had some procedures done and whatnot. But the guy's about to win the MVP, right? So I got to believe fine. You know how it is this year. Everybody has, bumps and bruises and stuff. But this guy is really impressive, man. They've got the total package. And really, Seattle does too. But I'll give the Rams the edge as head coach and quarterback.
Yeah, I would agree. I love Mike McDonald, but I wish this game was on the road because the Seahawks are 8-1 ATS on the road this year. They've been tremendous. Who is Blades Brown? Well, we'll talk about him on the other side. 18-year-olds lighting up the golf courses across the country.
7% chance of winning a PGA Tour major? Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of like in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done. Right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
if I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Bye. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Day, only on SportsGrid.
Brady Cannon's been kind enough to hang out for another segment. We talked football. Let's talk golf. Who in the world is Blades Brown? 18-year-old from Nashville today shoots a 60 at the American Express. Brady, tell me who this kid is. Is this a fluke or is this someone to watch?
I don't think it's a fluke. And, he came onto the scene exactly a year ago. His PGA Tour debut was at the 2025 American Express in La Quinta, California, there on a sponsor's exemption. And he missed the cut last year. I believe he also played in the Myrtle Beach Classic, which is an alternate event, when the signature event's going on and Scotty Scheffler and all those guys are playing in some big boy tournament and everybody else goes and plays something. I think he was involved in that. I think this is his 10th start. He plays on the Korn Ferry Tour as well. Like you say, only 18 years old. And him just getting to this golf tournament is quite the story. He played in the Bahamas earlier this week on the Korn Ferry Tour. I guess that tournament wrapped up on Wednesday. He got on a private jet and flew 6 hours to arrive in Southern California, tee it up on Thursday. I think he shot 67 on Thursday, not too shabby, and then shoot 60 today. And I thought he was going to shoot 59, Matt. You obviously can tell how easy these golf courses are. This is a birdie fest. I mean, Scotty Scheffler and Blades Brown are already out into the lead at 17 under par, and we've only played 2 rounds. So obviously, all 3 of these courses playing very, very easy. And he had 3 holes left to go and was 12 under par. He was on pace to shoot 60 with 3 holes to go. And I'm like, this guy's going to shoot 58, let alone 59. and he was pretty cool in his interview after the round. He said, yeah, I started feeling the nerves. He was very aware of what was going on. But at the same time, he said, I'm thrilled to have shot a 60 on the PGA Tour. So 18 years old, Matt, my goodness. Boy, hats off to him.
He shot 4 birdies on the front, 5 pars, and then he shot 5 birdies in eagle in 2 pars on the back. He shot a 28 on the back.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, would you bet this?
And that was
kid
actually
right now
his front 9. That was actually his front 9. He played the front 9 second. So his final hole was number 9 or whatever. But yeah, just an outstanding round. Yeah, but he's also going up against Scotty Scheffler, right? I think he's a very feel-good story at this point, but that guy that's tied with him is pretty good. No, I would say his chances are kind of slim and none at this point. The leaderboard's great here. I mean, you've got a lot. Ricky Fowler's in the mix. Patrick Cantlay, Andrew Novak is an up-and-coming player I talked about on the show yesterday. Cantlay, I think, is a sneaky good bet at this point. He's playing really solidly right now. The putter is not firing for him, and that's always a good sign. If a guy's playing well, but the putter hasn't warmed up yet, those things typically fluctuate. If that putter gets hot for Cantlay, he could be right there in the mix. He's played very well at this tournament before, and you could probably find him in the neighborhood of 25 to 1 or something, a pretty nice price on one of the very best players in this field. What's interesting about Blades Brown, too, I guess his mother played in the WNBA, so certainly some athletic genes in the family.
He's 25 to 1 at FanDuel to win this thing. You can get 16 to 1 in Patrick Cantlay. Scotty Scheffler's got +1. He's +160, which is somewhat hysterical because, well, it's plus money, but it's the smallest of prices to get plus money on Scotty. Does Scotty win this thing? Is that the better bet, just to take Scotty at +160 or +150?
I think the pricing is really interesting on Scotty, Matt. Yesterday he was 2 to 1, and then he goes out and shoots another ridiculous round today, a 64. Now, he has the hardest course coming up on Friday. The stadium course is the hardest one of the three. It's still not that difficult, but it is the hardest of the three. So you wouldn't expect him to go as low on Friday. He's never won this tournament before. He did miss the cut in 2021, and we tend to get really random long shot winners here. Maybe Blades Brown, right? I mean, it was a couple of years ago, Nick Dunlap won as an amateur at 500 to 1. You know, you've got a lot of no names who have, you know, gotten PGA Tour career victories here at the American Express. It isn't typically, now John Rahm is one here, but it isn't often the household names that win here for some reason. And I think it's interesting, like if this was the US Open or the Masters, or, you know, if this was a big boy golf tournament, Matt, wouldn't Scotty Scheffler be minus 160 at this point?
Yeah.
So I think it's weird that he's plus money still. Like it's like the books are nuts. They know about the randomness of this tournament or something, and they don't think, you know, Mr. World #1 is just going to put his foot down and run away with this. Kind of interesting.
How about my guy Sam Burns? He's 100 to 1, but he's not that far back. I mean, he's 12 under par. And if this is going to be a straight birdie fest, there's a lot of golfers between him and Blades Brown and Scotty Scheffler. But can you like take these types of like 100 to 1 launch shots on guys that have good games and have played well here? He shot 64, 67 to start the tournament.
I think here's the handicap from this point on out. Look at the guys at the top of the leaderboard, and 12 under par is probably the threshold. If you're in a birdie fest, a track meet, it's really hard to catch the guys at the top because nobody's making bogeys, right? You know, it's just, I mean, if you're making pars, it's almost like a bogey. I had Pearson Cootie, who was in the lead yesterday, and he shot even par today. That's like shooting 5 over. You can't shoot even par in a birdie fest. So it's going to be difficult for Burns to catch up, but you want to look at what courses they've played so far. If you've already played the stadium course and you've got the Nicklaus Tournament course or La Quinta on your schedule for Friday, then that's probably a bet on player. But if they're going into the stadium course, that's going to be more difficult, and they're probably not as likely to go as low once again. You know, I would say probably 12 or 13 is about as low as you can possibly go with that right combination of having one of the easier courses set up left to go on Friday. That's probably the handicap at the halfway point here, Matt.
Well, the Blades Brown story is pretty darn cool. Let's see if the kid can stick around and make some magic happen here on Saturday and Sunday at the American Express. Pretty good stuff. Brady, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Back to wrap things up next.
%7 chance of winning a PGA Tour major. Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of like in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done. Right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
if I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Bye. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Matt Perrault sitting in here on a Friday night on Game Time Decisions. Kevin will be back next week. Thanks for hanging out with us. Good stuff with Brady Cannon, talking some golf. What were you guys doing at 18? Because I was not playing in a final group on a Saturday for a PGA Tour event. It's pretty impressive to see what Blades Brown is doing. So if you're looking for the story tomorrow to follow, that's your story during the day to follow at the American Express. We then go into UFC 324 tomorrow night. I will be there covering it here in Vegas. I'm super excited to watch it. I think there are some interesting fights on this card. Obviously, losing the Kayla Harrison fight with Amanda Nunes steals some of the thunder for what this fight card could have been. But Patty Pimblett at the top of the card, taking on a fighter in Justin Gaethje, who has said publicly that this could be it if he doesn't win this. Professional money has come in on Justin Gaethje. This number has crept up all week long from Patty Pimblett at $2 up to $2.20, $2.30. I think Gaethje by knockout is definitely a good look on this because that's probably his best path to victory. Or just take money line at plus 185, 190. The over is very expensive, but if you listen to Gaethje, his game plan for the fight is to take Pimblett into deep water, meaning third, fourth, and fifth rounds, and see if he's got the cardio and see if he can handle the pressure that Gaethje will put on him for 25 minutes. So that's how I will bet the fight to go over. I will bet most likely I will take a flyer bet on Gaethje, but I like the over in that fight a lot. And then I think Sean O'Malley by decision is the best way to approach his fight in the co-main up against Song Yadong. I don't think that fight's going to be entertaining. I think O'Malley's going to be very protective. I think he's going to fight on the outside and keep himself away from damage. And you can get Sean O'Malley by decision at plus 115, plus 120, depending on the book. That's his best path to victory. It is super expensive to bet the over. It's like minus $250, $3 on the over 2.5 rounds for that fight. It's a 3-round fight, and the books are telegraphing that this thing will go to the cards. So it's just basically who's going to strike more, who will inflict more damage. And I do think Sean O'Malley will be the fighter that gets his hand raised on Saturday after that. So really interesting card, good fight. A lot of fun to watch this to see how it all plays out, but I like the over in the main event. I'll take a flyer on Gaethje on the money line, and I'll take O'Malley by decision over Song Yadong, and that fight most likely going all the way to the cards. You can bet it to go no inside the distance as well, but that's just as expensive as betting the over, which is somewhere around like minus 230 or minus 240. I've said it before, it's an all show about the Broncos on Sunday. I think the points is the way to go. I think taking 5 or 5.5 points. But by looking at this right now, that number 5, it was 5 when we came on the air 2 hours ago. That number's gone. There is Bronco money showing up in the market here as the limits have expanded around the country. Here come the professionals, like I thought they were going to. I thought this line, when it got to 5 and 5.5, I thought it would close at 3.5. If you listen to most odds makers, they've all said that they expected heavy money on the Broncos and that they could wind up needing the Patriots. By the time the game kicks off, they could be needing the Patriots. So that would be the books, and all of the early sharp money will need the Patriots. So that's an interesting space to be, because the public and the professional late money has switched, and you could have some books that have a sharp outfit, if you will, who holds a 5.5 ticket on Denver, and then maybe a 3 or 3.5 ticket on the Patriots, trying to middle the game. So if it falls 4 or 4, if it falls 5, that could be really bad news for the sports books coming up here on Sunday. I think the most likely outcome is Patriots by 3, but I think the Broncos are going to be in the game late with a chance to win it. I think this is a right down to the wire. The Patriots have made more plays than their opponents in the AFC Championship game historically. Is Drake May going to be that type of player? Or is he just a really good player who's had some good runs? he's going to have a chance to win an AFC championship game on the road and to do something Tom Brady never did, which is to win this game in Denver. On the flip side, I like Seattle simply because of the spot. I think the Rams are going to run out of gas in this game. And again, 0-5 teams straight up coming off of an overtime game the next week in overtime straight up, and 3 straight road games for the Rams after going to overtime last week and playing in the cold, now having to travel to Seattle. Just think it's a lot for any NFL football team to have to get through this. I like Seattle laying 2.5 points to win and to get to the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens on Sunday. Awesome sports weekend, Saturday into Sunday. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you guys. We've got a lot more to come here on SportsGrid In-Game Live, taking over coming up at the top of the hour. For the guys in the back, thank you for everything. I'm Matt Perrault. You want to be on later tonight. BBB replay later tonight.